It's very nice to welcome you to session 2. Everyone is just arriving, as is traditional on Zoom. This takes a few minutes coming through the virtual door. But as they do, I can let you know that off the back of all of your brilliant ideas from our creative music session last week, I've finished a first draft of a new piece for you. And Wenka, I think I sent it to you. Can you drop it into the chat box again, just so people have it? So this piece we'll look at a bit today. You can download the score just here. It's still a little bit unfinished, but it's definitely going to give us enough to work with today. And we'll have a little look at that in a minute. You may also see, if you scroll through the chat box, that I'm very happy to say Andrea from VOCES8 has joined us. Can we all just give Andrea a bit of a wave?
Hello.
Hi, Andrea. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Now, we are very, very fortunate that Andrea is going to join us and spend some time thinking about vocal health for the beginning of our session today. And Andrea, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the course you've been taking whilst lockdown has been going on as well. Then after that, Andrea has to go and record and do some more singing with VOCES8, and we will be carrying on without her. But then Andrea will join us again in the last session for the performance that we're all going to do 2 weeks today. So that's the plan. As with last week, I can tell you guys are total pros at having your microphones on mute, which is great. Don't forget also, I love to see your faces so that we can feel like we're talking to each other a bit. So thank you very much for your smiles. And if you've got your camera on, that makes me absolutely the most happy it's possible to be on Zoom. And again, if you have any questions, then just write a message in the chat and I will deal with them. And that goes for Andrea's session as well. Andrea will have time for a few questions before she leaves. So if you have anything you want to ask her, you can absolutely send a question in the chat box. Okay, I've talked enough already. I'm going to hand over to our superstar guest for today, Andrea. Can we give her a virtual round of applause? There we go. Over to you, Andrea.
Thank you, Paul. Hello, everybody. So yes, as Paul mentioned, over the last few months, I've been doing a bit of extra study on vocal health and well-being in general. And this is kind of a combination of it's something I've been interested in it for a long time. And it's something I have some personal experience with as well. So a few years back, I had some vocal difficulties, having got ill and continued needing to be able to sing. Didn't necessarily know as much as I could have about the situation, and so ended up having a little trouble with my voice, meaning that I needed a little bit of care and therapy to get me back on track. And that really kind of introduced me to the ideas surrounding a lot of this kind of vocal health and well-being idea and my interest in it. So earlier this year, I enrolled on an English, sorry, I'm just reading the workshop in English. Yes, sorry, my French is terrible. You'll understand more if I speak in English, I promise. Yeah, I did this course on vocal health, which has given me training in how to assess other people from listening to their voices, and also to see where I can help with some sort of little therapy bits and pieces and a few sort of tips and tricks. And obviously there's a huge amount beyond this, if you need extra help and bits and pieces, but we're just going to concentrate on kind of introducing ourselves to how the voice is working, and maybe take away a few pointers that can keep us all feeling good. So I'm just going to start off by just very briefly explaining a little bit about how the vocal folds in your larynx work. So when you take a big deep breath in and out, you can feel this hopefully nice lot of space. So can you all just take a nice deep breath in with me? And just breathing out. If I want you to take a deep breath in this time, and when you let the breath out, just let it out as freely as you possibly can. So really nice and quickly and as open as possible. So take a deep breath in. Very good. Okay, so our voice for the main part is actually acting as a valve system. So you can either let the air in or stop it from getting out. Okay, so that's its sort of primary role. And to sing, we kind of use the valve system to make sound. So what we're doing is closing that gap. When we breathe out, we're closing the gap with the vocal folds, where they're two sort of flaps of membrane that come together in your throat. And it's the muscles around those membranes that push them, squeeze them together. When we put air up through that, then they vibrate. And that's where we get the sound. And they vibrate in a really cool wave pattern, okay, that looks like this when you zoom in on it under a microscope. So you can kind of practice this feeling between what we just did, which is breathing out really nice and open with nothing in the way here, no obstruction. And then we can do what we feel like when we sing, if we just sing a note. So we're going to do them side to side. So we're going to take a deep breath in, let it out really quickly, then another deep breath in, and then just sing a note, any note you like, because nobody else can hear you, but I'm sure it will be beautiful. Okay, so first one, nice and open. Very good. And second one with a note. Oh, great. So you can feel like different things moving in your voice here. Now, on top of that, the really sort of a little bit of an advanced thing with your vocal folds coming together and flapping nicely together to make the sound, there are then these things just above it called your false folds. They're kind of sneaky things that look a little bit like vocal folds, and they come together in the same way, but they don't actually make the sound. They're actually there as a kind of protection, and they also come together when you swallow. They come together and they fold in to come on top of your vocal folds. And what they do is they coat your vocal folds in mucus and they hydrate them. So it's really, really important. So just do really nice, take a deep breath and then do a nice big swallow for me. Okay, so you'll feel everything sort of opening and closing in your throat. And that's a really, really important mechanism because our vocal folds can't hydrate themselves. So we need this false fold movement when we swallow to make them hydrated. And this is one of the things that I want to sort of share with you today, particularly, is the importance of hydration. So if we think about the fact that our body is trying to produce mucus, it needs liquid, it needs water and hydration to do that. Thank you, Paul. Yes, I can see you taking a nice swig from the water glass there. So we talk about we need internal hydration. So that means drinking lots of water, but we can also help our vocal folds with a sort of direct hydration. And that's why a lot of people steam. So a lot of singers like to take very long, hot showers in the morning because that really gets all the steam going. And that kind of helps to hydrate the system in a really direct way. And it's kind of important to have both of those things. So when we're thinking about how much water we want to drink during the day, on average, you want to work it out that you want to drink 1 milliliter of water for every calorie that you're burning. Okay, so now that will be slightly different for everybody, especially during quarantine where you're not moving very much. But very generally, that means for men, that's an average of 2,500 calories a day. And for women, usually nearer 2,000. So that means you need to be drinking 2.5 litres or 2 litres if you're a woman each day. That's just the general, to keep yourself generally hydrated. On top of that, if you are singing, you need to be drinking an extra 100 to 150 millilitres of water for every hour you sing. So, for example, today I'm going to be singing for about 6 hours in total. So that means I need to drink nearly 3 litres to make sure that I'm keeping my levels on the right track and keeping my larynx hydrated for optimum work. So that's really quite a lot of water, and it's one of those things that it can be really difficult to be disciplined about, but it's a little bit often is a great way to go. So particularly if you're in rehearsal or you're singing at home, just try and keep that glass of water beside you to remind you to keep sipping away with that. So we've got steaming, we've got drinking lots of water. The other thing that is really good, especially if you're having a little bit of difficulty or you have been ill, one really good exercise to do is to find a straw. If you have a straw, it can be just the type that you put in your cocktails. And for this size, I'd probably cut it in half. So you end up with a straw about this size. And just doing breathing exercises through this is really helpful. So, for example, going, so you do little patterns of blowing through the straw and then introducing a hum behind it as well. And you can make up your own exercises and patterns, and doing lots of different patterns is really good for the voice, makes it really nice and flexible. It's a really, the reason it's really good is because, well, you're kind of limiting the amount of air that can escape and creating resistance at the mouth here, which levels out the pressures that you're using between the air that's coming up and the pressure that's going down, which makes your voice work so well. So that's a really, really good thing. Straws are really helpful. There are lots of very good straw exercises available on YouTube. So if you just type in straw exercises into YouTube, you can find lots of really good things for that. Lots of people ask me about food, about diet, and all these stories about people like, oh, I can't possibly eat any dairy the day that I'm going to sing. I can't eat any chocolate and I can't drink any orange juice, or things like that. There's no scientific evidence that points to a particular food type causing any extra mucus production or thickening effect. Everybody is different. You might find that maybe has a little effect for you, but there's nothing strict. So don't worry. You can drink coffee, Paul, as much as you like. Just make sure you stay hydrated. Okay, so all water, all liquids, coffee, tea, juice, all liquids count except alcohol, sorry. So everything goes towards your hydration intake. I think I was going to put up a slide very quickly just to show you at the end here, just a few points that I think are really important to remember. I'm just going to find that slide to share with you. Here we go. Some things to sort of take away in our day-to-day. So obviously as singers, our whole body is really our instrument, and therefore its well-being and health is really important to our singing. So feeling good in ourselves is really important. And part of that is feeling safe and feeling comfortable, feeling comfortable in your mind as well as in your body. And so that's really important, that we have a safe and healthy environment to sing in. Breathing is really great. If we're feeling a bit nervous, a bit anxious, breathing is really great for sort of settling us down. As long as you take a breath in and you breathe out for longer than you breathe in, that's going to help lower your heart rate over time. So if you do that for a minute, you can count through, just breathing in for 2 and out for 6, and just increase the time that you breathe out for. That's really great for just centering ourselves. As I've put here, it increases our sort of self-awareness of our own state and our own bodies. And that's partly why we talk so much about singing being such great therapy for our well-being and being good for the soul and good for people, is because it brings this sense of calm. If you think about it, when we sing, once we breathe in, we're always breathing out for longer while we're singing long phrases. So try and think of singing as sort of part of this calming effect, and kind of an extension of those breathing exercises. movement is really, really great for us where we practice. It helps dispel any stresses or any holding in our body that we might have. I've already told you about hydration is a key thing, and sleep is super important, of course, to us as well. I think also just in general, sort of in the well-being idea is this healthy attitude to singing and singing as a community, singing with others, being generous to other people, supporting your fellow choir members, singers, musicians, reveling in their successes as well as being proud of your own. It creates a sense of community and support, which brings us back to that kind of safe space of singing. We like to empathize with their mistakes because we know we all make mistakes at different times, and treat those who are listening to us as friends, as somebody who's really partaking in the activity with us in that moment, even in this virtual world where we maybe can't see the people that we're performing to. It's really important to keep them in your mind and think about sort of where your music is going and how it's improving other people's lives as well as our own through the act of doing it. So I'd encourage you to think about those things especially as you're doing this project, because I know there's so many wonderful things and wonderful community spirit with this project. So I love the fact that you'll be able to support each other through that. Please, if you have any sort of other questions and bits and pieces, pop them in the chat. It's a bit of a kind of whistle stop through some points there. There's so many different facets to vocal health and well-being, of course, but some of those sort of main points to consider of how to look after yourself, but also how to look after your community as well. Great. Well, that's my kind of my 15 minutes of fame, I guess, of kind of introducing you to some of those ideas. I'll happily share that little slide of pointers with Paul as well. So if you want to have another look at that, as I say, lots of great exercises online for that straw phonation, or sometimes called SOVT exercises.
Wenka will probably write that into the box as well. SOVT.
Yes, it stands for something very complicated called semi-occluded vocal tract, which basically means it's a little bit closed.
Andrea, thank you very much for joining us and for sharing those ideas. Can we all just give Andrea a round of applause from wherever we are? Thank you very much, and wave that and everything. And I hope as well, don't forget that we are recording all of this. So if you want to remember everything that Andrea's just talked about, I would encourage you just to find this video, click on it, get to the bit you like, and actually use those list of exercises that Andrea's just given you as a daily practice. I think that would be really helpful for all of you. I'm sure many professional singers spend so much of their time doing these kind of things that it will be really helpful for all of us. Andrea, thank you very much. I can't see where you've gone, but you're somewhere.
I'm here somewhere.
I've got you. Thank you very much. I know you have to go off and record.
Yeah.
Just tell us that you do have your own straw, don't you? What's it called?
I do. So there are lots of different types of straws you can get. I actually have a metal one on a necklace that's called an UVO straw, which is OOVO. And they're a company that's based in America that make very pretty singing straws. But yes, you can just use a paper straw. That's just as good.
It is pretty good. Thank you, Andrea. That was, as has just been said in the chat, very interesting, and I know we could talk about this all day, but I want us, now that we've talked about singing and well-being, to actually start doing some singing ourselves. So I'm going to let you go off and sing, and we're going to carry on too. So bye, Andrea.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
And now, as you guys have, we've done a little bit of breathing, and I just wonder if, before we start with any music making, can you just copy me for a minute, put your hands on your chest, and just say for me, and again, we'll take a nice breath in. And just like Andrea asked us to sing a note, I wondered, when Andrea sung the note, did you all sing the same note as Andrea, or did you go as dissonant as possible? Hands up if you sang a totally different note to Andrea. Okay, a few of you. Excellent. So just once again, just arms nice and wide and just say for me, ah. Ah. And now we're going to turn that into a note, any note you like. Ah. Very nice. Just give your cheeks a bit of a rub. Give your ears a bit of a wiggle. This is going to be a turbo warm-up now. Just give your neck a bit of a massage. I am very excited to say that I had my first vaccination injection about 4 hours ago. So this arm is getting a bit heavy, but otherwise I'm doing okay. But if I just topple sideways, then don't worry about me. It's making me better, honestly. Really, I promise. Just give your stretch back here a little bit. Very nice. I'm on a spinny chair. Sorry, I'll stand up. Just stretching back, feeling a nice gentle pull. And the arm across this way. Very good. And as you're doing this, can you go and with the other arm? You just give your legs a bit of a wiggle as well. And your shoulders. And this time, as you go up high, can you wiggle down as you go up high and then come back up as you come back down low? You ready? Here we go. And that was brilliant. I loved watching that. I wish everyone could see that as they were watching back later. Let's try again. See who can get their head right off the bottom of the screen. And very good. Rub your hands together for me. And just give your arms a pat. Quite gently, if you've had any injections today. And here, just put your hands here for me. Around there, and just go for me. Very nice. This is all about that air control Andrew was just talking about. Let's try that one more time. Take a nice breath in and very good. And have a seat if you want to, or stay standing if you prefer. I'm just going to sit down so I can also get to the piano. That little exercise is doing exactly the same, really, as that straw idea that Andrew is talking about. It's helping to create some resistance. So you can use a or a z or a sh. All of these things help us control the airflow. And that's what we're thinking about with Andrea and our straw as well. Now, so we had this fun game composing last week, and we're just going to play a little bit now. I'm just going to sing a few bits, and then I want you to sing back to me. So let me just get my score. After that, we'll get the full score up for everyone to have a look. Let's pop this here. So I'm just going to sing a bit, just copy back. We have this first line. Can you say for me, to see a world? Very nice. It sounds like this. To see a world, and you. To see a world in a grain of sand, in a grain of sand. Now, when we get to this in a minute, you'll notice I've divided up bits for sopranos, bits for tenors, bits for altos, bits for basses. And Leander, I have a feeling this might be your little melody that we've got here. In a grain of sand, which is quite down low for us basses and altos. So can we all just try that? I love it. In a grain of sand and in a grain of sand. Or that might be in a grain of sand. If you prefer to be a tenor, you can do that bit. So we have to see a world in a grain of sand. Can we try that all together? And to see a world in a grain of sand. Now, the great news is that the next line of this text is a very similar melody. If I just sing it for you, you'll recognize how it goes. And a hem in a wild flower but instead of saying flower, we're going to say flower in a very British way of just not really saying the whole word, because why would we bother saying the whole word when we can just say a bit of it? So it's a ye olde flower instead of a flower. And so we have, and a hen in a wild flower. Can we try that? And a hen in a wild flower. Very nice. So we now have the first 2 lines of William Blake's text and the melody that goes with it, created by our composition class afterwards. And a strong part of that second part is Leander's. Thank you, Leander. We have, if we'd listen to it all together, I'll sing it once, then we'll do it together. 2 lines go like this. To see a world in a grain of sand, and a hen in a wild flower. Okay, let's try that all together. And to see a world in a grain of sand, and a hen in a wild flower. Very nice. Those are our first 2 lines. We've got 2 more to go, and then we're going to just learn some other bits that go with it so we can feed into some improvisation. The next bit of text was hold infinity in the palm of your hand. Can you just show me your hand? And it goes like this. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand. Let's try that. And hold infinity in the palm of your hand. Very nice. Then after that we have and eternity. Can you sing that? And eternity. One more. And eternity. So if we stick that together, it sounds like this. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity. Let's try that. Hold and. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity. And after that, we had a request from our composition team for a little bit of silence. So there's going to be 2 beats of absolute silence. And eternity, 1, 2, in, an, ah. Okay, so then there's a little break. Can you just say for me, listen, in, an, ah. Can we try that? In, and, in, an, ah. Very nice. The other thing that we're going to be doing here, as you hear it all fit together in a little while, is playing with some time signatures. The choices were not just to use one. So we have 3. We have 4/4, we have 3/4, and we have 6/8. And it goes like this. To see a world in a grain of sand, and a hen in a wild flower. Dum, 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 dum. So we've got 3 bars of 4/4, 1 bar of 3/4, and 1 bar of 6/8. Can we all just try? We're going to clap. We're going to use our body to feel the rhythm. And so I want us to do it like this. We're going to use our chest for the beginning of each bar, and then we're going to use the back of our hand afterwards. So it goes like this. Watch me. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, and 2, and 1. Okay, I can see Wenka's totally going for this. I think she's got it. So now let's put this trick together and see if we can find those first 2 lines again with the rhythm as well. Okay, so I'll try to demonstrate this. I should have practiced it in advance with my heavy arm, but we'll see how it works. So it goes like this. 2, 3, 4. To see a world in a grain of sand, and a hen in a wild flower. Dum, 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 dum. Okay, and the dum 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 we're going to get to in just a minute. Can we try that all together? And I can see you all, just so you know, I can see you all looking beautiful. Thank you so much for turning on your cameras. It's very nice to see you spread across the different pages. You're looking marvelous, may I say. Here we go. To see a world. 1, 2, 3, 4. To see a world in a grain of sand, and a hem in a wildflower. Dum, 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 dum. Thumbs up if you got that like at least half right. Oh, big thumbs up if you got it totally right close to the screen. Excellent. That's good. Now, that was the first 2 lines. It's slightly different because we've got that space in the second 2 lines. So we have this. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour. So where we have silence at the end of the first 2 lines, because the other parts are going to do some harmony, in our second 2 lines, it crosses into that 6/8 bar. So we have in an hour, dum, 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 dum. And when we have the 6/8, I'm feeling it in quavers. So we have, can you just try that for me? So we put our 6 quavers in with our beat. So it goes like this. Let's try that again. And very good. So in total, we have our, if we speed it up a bit, it goes. Okay, does that make sense? Let's try now. Same idea with that melody. Hold infinity all together with me. 1, we have it here. 2, 3, 4. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you're at least halfway with me, and if you're not, just give your head a bit of a scratch. That's fine. Great, very good. So in total, we've got now this whole melody. Some of the things I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the things you suggested, which we're going to come to in a minute. We've got the words that we talked about last week that we wanted to bring out. We've got some vocal textures, which we're going to play with in a minute. We've got our 4/4, our 3/4, and our 6/8 time signatures. What we've just learned there, that is the same rhythmic pattern for the whole piece. So now that we know our 3 bars of 4/4, 1 bar of 3/4, 1 bar of 6/8, it's always the same throughout the whole piece. That's kind of our slow groove. Okay, imagine it like a jazz standard or a chaconne or something, whatever you fancy. It's going to keep going like that the whole piece. Some other words that we're going to think about as we work on this piece are dreamy, calm, and positive, which I thought were lovely words. We're going to be thinking about shifting slowly between some majors and minor keys. And we're thinking about soothing body percussion. I like the idea of soothing body percussion very much. And some of these just gentle taps here, I think you might find you can do something with those. So we're going to experiment with those in a minute. We also talked about starting with a melody and then doing some fragment ideas. And so we're going to get to that in just a minute. So we've got our opening melody, which you've done. If you've got the score in front of you, you'll see that, and in fact, I'll show you all together just so we can show this once. And let me see if I can find it first of all. It's this one. So hopefully you can see that now. Can you all see that? Wenka can see that, I think. So that's good news. So we've just learnt the opening line. As you can see, it bounces between the soprano and the alto, whilst the lower voices are going to give us a drone. So we have to see a world as a beginning from the sopranos, then the altos reply, in a grain of sand, and a hem, sopranos, in a wildflower, altos. Then we have this little rhythm. In the lower lower voices in the 6/8 bar. Dun, 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 dun. And that's going to come up quite often again and again. You can see we add some other textures in the tenor part, which we're going to work on next week. And then again, we get our rhythmic pattern at the end. After that, on page 2, we switch it around. So the men are going to sing the words, and the upper voices, so lower voices are going to sing the words, and the upper voices, the sopranos and the altos, are going to give us our soft, smooth, meditative texture to the sound do. And we do that straight through this page. And then we get to bar 21. And this is where we're going to bring the piano in a little bit, create some ripple effects. And this is our looping pattern that we're going to play with. Some of you said last week that you wanted to improvise, and some of you said that you didn't want to improvise. So what I've written is something for everyone who doesn't want to improvise. And over the top of this, then there will be opportunities for everyone else to put things in again. So for the bass part, if we look at bar 21, just here, we have here, do, do, do. Do, 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 do. And that's our riff that the basses are going to work with. So if you're a bass, we're going to try that in just a second. And if you are, oh wow, what's happened there? Someone's doing some really fun things. I don't know what that was. But that was brilliant. So then in our tenors, we've got our do, 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 is going to be in the tenors. And then in the upper voices, you can see the sopranos do the same thing a few different times, which is here. Do, do. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Do, do. Do, do. Do, do. Okay, and then after that we have our little high motif with the altos. And then here. So that's our little motif at the end. And for the altos, we have our similar idea to the sopranos, which is there. 1, 2, 3. Do, do, 2, 3. Do, do, 2, 3. Do, 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 do. And that's where we go. Okay, so I have no idea how you guys put all those different markings on there, but whatever happened, it was brilliant. Oh, look, it stays. Can you see that, Wenko? Is it just me? You can see that too. What happens if I stop the share and start again? I don't know who did that, but it was great. Were you picking your favorite notes? I hope so. I'm just going to let someone else in. And can I just get a show of hands? Can you put your hand up if you can't see a score unless I share it? A few people. Right, so I'm going to put it up again. And we're just going to have a go. You can each sing your own part. I'm going to play the piano part around it as well. So here we go. So this is bar 21. That's a D, that's an A. For the sopranos, for the altos. 1, 2, 3, and go. Okay, let's try that once more. And let's maybe go just a touch slower so it's a bit more dreamy. So we're going to start with the basses. Do, do, for the tenors. Do, 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 do. 1, 2, 3, and. Struggling to play that last bar. I think it's my dead arm. Very, very nice. So that little loop is going to go round and around in a pattern. And then if you just look into bar 26 down here, we've got some fragments that are beginning. And let's all just have a go at these. But you can pick whichever pitch you like. Can you just say for me, infinity? And can you say for me, eternity? These were two of the big winners in our word counts from last week. We've got some other words that you can also throw in if you like, but I've written what a couple of improvisation fragments might look like. So we might have infinity, which would be something like infinity. So it's up there. Can we just try that? In 1, 2, infinity. And then eternity is up here. Eternity. Give that a go with me. And eternity. And then the other infinity comes back again. Infinity. Let's try that again after 2. 1. Infinity. So they're just little fragments that appear. And you can put in this if you're feeling like it. Or, as I said, if you fancied improvising, you can also start to add in different things over here. And from bar 26, where we're just here, you can see we've got our repeat marks. So we're going to do these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars a number of times. And each time we can think about different layers that we put in. In the performance, we'll have VOCES8 singing these parts. And I'd also love us to think about some kind of physical percussion that we might put in as well as we're singing it. So we're just going to play it around a few times from bar 26 and either pick a part that's on the score or put in something over the top that's your own. Okay, and don't worry, it's free to improvise because no one can hear what anyone else is doing. If you want to try something else, you can try something spoken. I think some of the other words that were winners were heaven, flowers, and grain. So you could use something rhythmic with those. You could do something spoken. You could put in a sound effect, or something like this, something soft. Or you could think about how you combine something physical with something vocal. And actually, I quite like it if, rather like the words infinity and eternity, we find some space. Okay, so let's just play this a couple of times and then we'll revisit it next week. 1, that's your starting note. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that little looping pattern we're going to play with next week, and I'd love it if you can think about how we sing the score. I hope you'll be able to download it, and we'll also upload it onto the page on the BOZAR website so you can have a look at it. I'll try if I can to get VOCES8 to do a little recording of it this week, and we'll get that up there as well. Now, that's part of our improvisation. After where we've just got to, you'll see when you look at the score that it returns in an ABA style back to something at the beginning. But can we give a big round of applause, please, to all of the composers who stayed behind last week? Excellent work. You guys were an absolute pleasure to work with. It was brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to do some more on that next week. We're going to be very short of time very quickly. An hour is never long enough to do all the things we want to do together. But I would like us to have a look next at El Grillo, if possible. And as I find the video for this, let's just have an honesty session. If Wenka had some very good ideas about the different ways we could get people to show whether they've been rehearsing or not, I'm going to go the old-fashioned way. If you have done any practice in the last week since I last saw you, can you do this on screen now, please? If you've not done anything, don't do that. Just keep going so I can see everyone. Oh, there's a few hands. Oh, you can all have a look around now as well and see who's just like, nah, I haven't done anything. That's okay. Still a few weeks to go. It's fine. So we are going to look at the first half of El Grillo today. So if you want to find the score for that, that would be fantastic. And I'm going to get the video up as well. So let's see if we can find that now. probably don't want to see my inbox. So let's see if we can look for something else. Here we go. El Grillo. There we are. Oh no, network error. Let's try a reload. Excellent. This is, I'm excited now. I think we're in a good place, Wenka. So we are going to sing from the beginning. Just have a listen to VOCES8 do it. We're going to do about the first minute or so. Try and remember all of that Italian we looked at last week. Here it goes. That's where we're stopping. Great. So that was a whole 48 seconds, everyone, we've got to get through today. That's the first half of this piece. So if you've got your score in front of you, great. If not, I'm going to pull it up right now so you can see what it looks like. Okay, I hope you can see that. Winker, I can see you on screen and you're nodding, so that's a good sign. So we have El Grillo è buon cantore. Can we all try that? Just that little passage together. With this piece, there's only a few little bits that we've really got to grasp, and at that point, we're well on the way to the first things we need to know. So we have our bases. El Grillo è buon cantore. That's where we're going to be. Tenors. El Grillo è buon cantore. And altos we have up here. El Grillo è buon cantore. And sopranos. El Grillo è buon cantore. And if you see over the top of bon and can, you can see the sharp, which means we're going to do it as an F sharp. But if you look at Johnny's notes, you can see whose decision that was. And I might try and persuade Johnny to come along and explain that to us a bit more next week. So that first little passage, let's just sing it all together. I'll sing the soprano line. Please pick whichever line you prefer. Here we go. One and. El Grillo è buon cantore. Okay, can we just try that again? 1, 2. El Grillo è buon cantore. Okay, so that's our first little passage. And as you look through the piece, that comes up a zillion times. So once we know that bit, we're in good shape. The next bit that follows straight on from it is very easy for sopranos. You're all one note. Que tiene longo ver, hold it forever, and then so. And we have, for the altos and the tenors, you guys get the interesting bit. So we have for the altos, you're there. Que tiene longo ver, so. And with the tenors, we're down here. Que tiene longo ver, so. And as you'll notice, you and the altos are bouncing around with loads of energy, which is absolutely what we want to find. That's the most interesting bit. And as normal, the basses are somewhere down the bottom, doing not much apart from basically one note as well. Que tiene longo ver, hold that for a long time, so. Okay, so let's try that little bit, just that section there, all together. So we're going to start on que tiene, and I will sing the alto part this time, I think. So our first note, sopranos. altos, sorry there, sopranos, tenors, and basses. Okay, coming in after 2. 1. Che tiene lungo verso. I can see the people in my screen seem to be singing and not looking too confused, which is very good. I hope I can say the same for the rest of you. I'm going to jump to a different screen. I can see some other people nodding, and one person is even smiling. That's really exciting. Well done, smiling people. Let's try that once more. This time I'm going to sing the tenor part. That's the soprano, alto, tenor, bass, tenor here. 1. Che tiene lungo verso. Very nice. Good enthusiasm. As you're doing this, can you just say for me, nya? Put your hand right here and go, zzz, nya, nya, nya. Try and find that trumpet sound that we worked on last week. That's the mask we're going to really try and find here, particularly for those altos and tenors. It's going to be right here. It's not going to be here. Verso. Let's try that with all the parts from the same place. And 1. Sorry. 1. Che tiene lungo verso. Well done. Spin to the second page, which is the other fun bit we're just going to look at here. And we have our bouncing around. You've all got the same note, but really it's the rhythmic games that we're playing that are the most exciting. So we have for the sopranos, dale, beve, grillo, canta. And then after that, we have to go as fast as possible with our dale, dale, beve, beve, grillo, grillo, canta. Okay, just everyone say for me. Excellent. I love just seeing you do that most of all. So thank you for that. That energy and that tip of the tongue is what we're going to have to really fire up for that little section there. So we have our sopranos, altos. Let's do that together. And men, if you're there, or tenors and basses, if you're there, can you be putting in your parts as well? And we'll sing the upper parts first. Altos, sopranos, dale. 1 and dale, beve, grillo, canta, dale, dale, beve, beve, grillo, grillo, canta. Ooh, let's try that once more. And men, don't forget, so lower voices, don't forget that you are doing exactly the same. And then when we all get together, we're carrying on. So the lower voices, dale, 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 dale. 1 and dale, beve, grillo, canta, dale, dale, beve, beve, grillo, grillo, canta. That's the one I have trouble with. Grillo, grillo, canta. Can you just say that for me slowly? Grillo, grillo, canta. And grillo, grillo, canta. Very good. I see some excellent faces there doing it very knowingly. Let's try that now once more. This time I'm going to sing the bass part. Okay, so we have our 1 and dale, beve, grillo, canta, dale, dale, beve, beve, grillo, grillo, canta. Well done. And do you know where we go back to as soon as we finish that? We go right the way back to the beginning. Okay, so we then go straight back to it. There's no pause. You can see a pause mark here. This pause mark is not going to happen very often. In fact, I think it may not even happen at all, maybe just as we go through the last time when you hear VOCES8 do it. So as soon as you get to the end of each section at the moment, we're just carrying straight on. And then once we've done a repeat, the second time through, we get to 17 and we sing it once more. And that's the end of that section. Okay, so our first 48 seconds go page 1, first line of page 2, back to page 1, and then page 2 up to the end of the second section. Okay, that's our 48 seconds. This time, I'm going to get VOCES8 back. Let's see if we can find them. Just check you're all still here. Can you give me a thumbs up if you're still with me? And don't forget, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat box. I can mostly see thumbs up or the odd wave and smile. And Genevieve, I'm jealous of the glass of wine that you have in your hand. I do hope after our session with Andrea that that's water. That's all I can say. There we go. You have both. That's the perfect solution. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to find VOCES8. I knew this was the right place to hang out this evening. So let's find our share, and I hope you've all got your score with you. And we'll start again. El Grillo. Right back at the beginning. Good luck, everyone. Before we start, here are your notes. That's the basses, tenors, altos, sopranos. Good luck. Well done. Give me a thumbs up if you got at least some of that right. Give me a waving hands if you got all of it right. Oh, well done, everyone. You guys are absolutely A1 superstars at this. That's fantastic. Okay, so that is our first section, which I promised we'd look at this week. Next week, we're going to go on to the last section. So from bar 22 to the end. The good news is that really what you've now learned comes up so often it feels like the bulk of the piece. So excellent work. I can't believe how quickly 1 hour goes, but I'd like us, yeah, Wenka's pulling the same face that I have in my head as well. We're just going to jump over to O Magnum Mysterium for just a couple of minutes and we'll play it through. Last week, we were thinking a little bit about the different phrases and about the shapes. So if I just pull up the score for you all to see. Here we go. This is a total contrast, isn't it, to what we've just been doing? Our crazy crickets are now replaced by something far more calm. O Magnum Mysterium. And we're really going to find that beautiful long legato line. And as we're thinking about this, and as we're just singing this opening section, I would love you just to think not only about your part. Obviously, we're focused on singing our notes. That's absolutely something we have to be aware of. And the breath control that Andrea was talking about in her session today, really using our breath well to make sure we sustain those long phrases is going to be very important. But also be aware of what your part is doing. So if you're the soprano and you are starting things off, we have that beautiful opening motif. Then the altos come in and we need to make sure they have space to hear that. Then when we get to our tenor section here at bar 10, that again is what we really want to hear. And then this moment when the basses enter, about, what's that, 7, 8, 9, 10, about bar 11, when the bass comes in, just there. Watch the way VOCES8 does it and try and copy them as well. They'll give just a little bit of space so that we settle onto that E major chord, which is just gorgeous, and we just want to let that moment happen. So be aware as we're thinking about the flow of this piece, that's a really special magical moment. Then in our second page, just have a think particularly around this moment here. I hope you can see my cursor. What's that, bar 15, 16, 17, about bar 18, et admirabile, is a gorgeous moment where the voices suddenly now all stack up together. Then as we move into the next section, which we'll get to next week in bar 21, we get the lower voices, then the upper voices. So there's a constant flow in the parts, which is just beautiful. Sometimes you're working as an individual part, sometimes you're in a pair, sometimes all four are together. And if you can keep that in mind as you're singing it, that's what's going to help us really develop as ensemble singers, not just being aware of our own line, but of everything else that's going around us. I'll keep the score up here on the screen, and I know some of you will probably have to, oh no, that's not what we want. Probably have to go for your dinner in a minute, but let me keep that there and let me find the Vimeo link and fire that up. Okay, so question, can you still all see the score? Yeah, great, because I can see the video. So this has worked surprisingly well. Here we go. Let's, the first note for the sopranos is there. Off we go. Tenors, here we go. Now basses, get ready. Sorry. Let's stop there. Very nice. Now, I would love, well done. I can see some thumbs up. Can everyone give me a thumbs up if you got some of that right? And go mad crazy if you got the whole thing right. Excellent. I'm scrolling through. Don't stop waving. I'm looking at everyone. There we go. We've got some thumbs, some waves, and some people just like, well, that was nice music. Excellent. Brilliant. Look, it's an absolute pleasure to just be involved in some way with that music with you. I think it's gorgeous. Next week, when we come back together, we'll start with O Magnum Mysterium. So we're going to take a look at that. And don't forget that this session is up online, so you can revisit and find Andrea's tips for the beginning. You can have a chance to practice some of the things we looked at in the new piece. You've got the new score today, which is going to go up online. And if you can think of some improvisation bits for that 5-bar passage, which we're going to loop around, connected to some chilled body percussion, that would be great. With El Grillo, next time we're going to look at the second section as well. And we will get all the way through O Magnum Mysterium as our priority for next week. So that's going to be where we start, I think, after a little warm-up. Wenka, have I missed any questions from anyone that I need to be looking at? I think.
No, I didn't see any questions.
Well done.
Wait.
There was a question about where
alto part Magnum Mysterious bar 9 is C sharp or C natural.
See, those are the questions I love, and I'm definitely going to stay around to answer. Bar 9, O Magnum Mysterium. I've got it down as a C sharp in the second one, so we're going to go. et admirabile sacra, si naturalmentum, C sharp. Good pick, altos. That's a knowledgeable question. I like those kind of questions. If you have more questions like that, you've been very well behaved and barely asked any technical questions at all in the first 2 sessions. So if you have some at the beginning of next week, get fired up to write those in, I suspect, any language. We can probably handle it in terms of the chat. I know that I'm running this in English, but if you want to ask a question in a language that's not English, I reckon between us, Wenka's nodding too, we can work that out.
Yeah, of course.
And I will invite Johnny along just to spend a couple of minutes with us next week to explain how he put that score together as well. So if you have any questions for him, then I hope he'll turn up and speak in his dulcet bass tones to explain everything he's been working on. I hope you have a really lovely rest of your day, rest of your week, and I'm looking forward already.
Yes, I just wanted to say just one more thing, because I know there are a lot of questions about the materials. So you can just go to the website of BOZAR. You can even type in Google singing Brussels BOZAR, and then you scroll down, and at the bottom of the page you see several links, and we will put the session of today also online over there, and all the materials you can download them. So there's no password, no other place. It's just open to everybody on the website of BOZAR.
And Wenka, did you put the link for that website in this chat? Can we just
no, I need to.
I can find it probably. So if you need to go, we say goodbye, but if you give me 10 seconds, I can find that.
I can also, yeah, wait there.
It's a race now. Who's going to get there first? I found it. Here we go. Ta-da! There it is. So
thanks a lot, Paul, for this second session. And if I'm right, just to make it clear for everybody, so we are learning this music and we will sing it together with the VOCES8 singers in the last session.
That is absolutely the plan. And we will have a rehearsal with them and then sing together in the last session. So yeah, it's going to be fun. So please, everyone who didn't put your hand up and said you did any practice, you now have a new piece as well as the 2 pieces you might know. So you've got lots of practice to do and some very nice exercises from Andrea. So I hope you have fun with those, and we'll see you again next week. Bye, everyone.